Phaistos is the second largest city of Minoan, Crete. The first one is Knossos. Palace of Phaistos is located about 5.6 kilometers east of the Mediterranean Sea, and 62 kilometers south of Heraklion. Phaistos was inhabited by about 3600 BC, slightly later than other early sites such as Knossos. During the early Minoan period, the site's hills were terraced and monumental buildings constructed on them. The first palace was built in the Middle Minoan period, around 1900 BC. Like other palaces, it was built in an area that had been used earlier for communal feasting. This initial palace was destroyed and rebuilt 3 times in period of about 3 centuries. After the first and second disaster, reconstruction and repairs were made, so its history is divided into 3 construction phases. The levels of the theater area, in conjunction with 2 splendid staircases, gave a grand access to the main hall of the Propylaea through high doors. A twin gate led directly to the central courtyard through a wide street. The floors and walls of the interior rooms were decorated with plates of sand and white gypsum stone. Upper floors of the west sector had spacious ceremonial rooms, although their exact restoration was not possible. A brilliant entrance from the central courtyard led to the royal apartments in the north part of the palace, with a view of the tops of Siluritis. The rooms were constructed from alabaster and other materials. The rooms for princes were smaller and less luxurious than the rooms of the royal departments. The palace was destroyed around 1400 BC and not rebuilt. Several artifacts with linear inscriptions were excavated at this site. The name of the site also appears in partially deciphered linear texts, and is probably similar to Mycenaean Paidu as written in linear B. Several subsurface pits have been found at Phaistos. Pottery has been recovered at Phaistos from in the Middle and Late Minoan periods, including polychrome items and embossing in imitation of metal work. Bronze Age works from Phaistos include bridge-spouted bowls, eggshell cups, tall jars and large pithoi. The site was re-inhabited during the 8th century BC. Phaistos had its own currency and had created an alliance with other autonomous Cretan cities, and with the king of Pergamon Eumenes II, around the end of the 3rd century BC. Phaistos was destroyed by the Gortonans and since then, ceased to exist in the history of Crete. Scotia Aphrodite and goddess Leto, who was also called Phidia, were worshipped there. The people of Phaistos were distinguished for their funny adages. Epimenides, the wise man invited by the Athenians to clean the city after the Silonian affair in the 6th century BC, was of Phaistian descent. References to Phaistos in ancient Greek literature are quite frequent. Phaistos is first referenced by Homer as well populated, and the Homeric epics indicate its participation in the Trojan War. The historian Diodorus Siculus indicates that Phaistos, together with Knossos and Cydonia, are the 3 towns that were founded by King Minos on Crete. Instead, Pausanias and Stephanus of Byzantium supported in their texts that the founder of the city was Phaistos, son of Hercules or Rhopolis. The city of Phaistos is associated with the mythical king of Crete Rhadamanthus. The builders of Phaistos took great care to create a functional as well as an aesthetically pleasing environment, which accommodated the spectacular views from the hill. The buildings are arranged around expansive courtyards following the uneven surface of the hill, and with their walls enclose the panorama of the Masara Plain and Mount Iti to the south and north respectively. The spectators sitting at the theater would have had a great view of the south and the east. According to Vincent Scully, the buildings of the palace were constructed in such a way that the open areas were always enclosed on one side by a palace wall, and on the other side by a major mountain mass. Phaistos was located in 1853 by Thomas Abel Brimage Spratt, a ship captain who surveyed sites around the Mediterranean. Spratt's identification drew on Strabo, who reported that Phaistos was 60 stadia from Gortyn, 40 from Madalum, and 20 from the coast. Spratt triangulated this location to a hill then known as Fort or Small Castle. A village of 16 houses remained on the ridge, but the vestiges of fortification walls indicated a city had once existed there. Excavations began in 1900 and continue to the present day. In 1908, the Phaistos disc was found in a basement room on the northern side of the palace. After 1955, the place name, Pa-I-2, interpreted as Phaistos, written in Mycenaean Greek, began to turn up in the Linear B tablets at Knossos. The tombs of the rulers of Phaistos were found in a cemetery 20 minutes away from the palace remains.